But I had a big falling out with WWE right as the DVD came out.
Why?
Because I listened into a conference call that I was supposed to be on a SmackDown conference call, and I listened into the Raw conference call.
What'd you hear?
Actually, this is funny, and this is a story in and of itself. I got sent home because I got busted listening into the Raw conference call, and the truth of the matter is I didn't really listen into that call. What happened is those conference calls back in December 2004 were so brutal because Vince was home on Saturdays, and he was bored. So we're going to review the shows. Now, we already reviewed the show on Thursday, and we already reviewed the show on Friday. And most of the writers back then, as you will no doubt recall, because you didn't like them either, were these, as Freddie Blassie would say, pencil neck geeks who had no sex life whatsoever. I had a healthy sex life at home and 2 small children to boot. These writers didn't have children nor sex lives. I had both. And I wanted some time at home because I was working all the time.
Yeah.
So Saturday morning, to have a chance to take my children down to the park, which is at the back of the school, which is 5 minutes from my house, seemed like a blessing. But Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, the conference call would start. What do we have for the pay-per-views? And we discussed the pay-per-views. And then, because Raw was the flagship show, let's discuss Raw. SmackDown, I'll tell you when to come back on. But the problem was, Vince, okay, I'm done with Raw. SmackDown needs to step up right now. Okay, so Vince runs away to take a bathroom break for a minute or to grab a protein bar or whatever he's doing. And by the time he comes back on the horn, if the SmackDown team's not on, he's going through the show without you.
Right.
So I don't have time to be at the park with my kids, and I get the call from whomever the assistant was by then going, okay, Vince is ready for you. Okay, I gotta go. And I have to drive back home because by the time I drive back home and get in front of my computer, Vince is going through the show. I'm a slave to the process of being on the phone for the conference call. So my girlfriend, squeeze, significant other, mother of my children, sweetheart, love of my life, however she could be phrased, she and I came up with the idea that Friday night would be our night out. And once we went out on Friday night, I would stay up all night writing the show. I'd send it to my assistant writer, who at the time was David Lagana. David Lagana would type out the show. By this time, I think Lagana was Lagana was by now either the co-writer or the lead writer, whatever it was. That was our process. I'd stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd type it out. He'd send it out at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'd say hello to everybody at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd go back to sleep. And she would take the kids to the park. So when the call came in, Vince is ready for you. I'm home already. I run to the bathroom. I do my thing. I run downstairs. I pour my iced tea or my coffee or whatever. The computer's already on. I'm on the line. And one way to do that was when the 10 o'clock call would end, I wouldn't get off the line. I'd stay on the line. I'd put the phone back in the charger, and I'd go to sleep. And I'd have the phone on mute. Hey, you need it on the phone. I'm already on the phone.
Right.
I'm there already. On that particular day, when I put the phone in the charger, it was unplugged. And so the battery, after about 2 hours on the phone, dies. So Vince is on the line, and of course they're talking about the most sensitive subjects in the world. And this is back in November. And they're talking about Raw's contribution to WrestleMania. They're on a tear. They're actually booking this thing out to WrestleMania. So imagine how top secret this is. And all of a sudden you hear, click. And I didn't say my name. And they hear, blank, has left the conference. And they go, oh my God, someone is listening in to our phone call. And they research who called into the call. And of course, that's Paul's number. So, so they come to me, and Stephanie was so angry at me because I was on her team,
yeah,
which made her look so bad to Vince. And Stephanie comes to me and she says, how could you do this to me? Do you know how angry my father is at me? How could you listen in to the Raw Crawl? I want an explanation from you. Look me in the eyes and tell me why on this day, December 3rd, 2004, you listened in to the Raw conference call. And as God is my witness, on my children I swore to her, I didn't listen in. Because the fact was, on that particular day, I went back to sleep. And I didn't listen in to the Raw call. And I enraged her so bad. And Vince was so mad at me, and he would say to me, look me in the face and tell me, just give me a reason why. Why would you listen into the Raw call? And I would say to him, you're the guy that wants ruthless aggression. You want true competition within your company. Now, if I thought that Raw show was truly competitive with the stuff I'm putting on SmackDown, you damn right I would listen into that call. I would hack their emails. I would steal their mail. I would put a cup up against the wall if I knew you were having a meeting in the next room, and you damn right I would listen to the conference call, because you can't tell me that if you knew that Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner were having a conference call in 1997 and you had that code, that you wouldn't listen in. He goes, good, so you're going to tell me now that you listen in. And I said, Vince, I didn't listen into that call, because the fact was I didn't. And here's the part that they've never known ever before. It's your exclusive to run with. So help me God, Steve. I didn't listen into that call. But I did listen in to the 6 other calls in the previous weeks before that. But since they never asked me if I did, I never copped to it.
Jesus Christ. You're a piece of work.
So they threw me out after I did a casket match with Heidenreich and The Undertaker. Yeah. And The Undertaker tombstone me and put me into the casket, which was my farewell. But then they tried to put together this ECW show, and it was going all wrong, which is, of course, the history of ECW. And by the time we hit March, Shane is calling me saying, hey, you mind coming in for a meeting? I don't want to get you too close to my old man, but maybe you could just talk to me about it. And the first thing I said was, book the Hammerstein Ballroom. Don't go to the ECW arena. Right. And once they took a look at the Hammerstein Ballroom, they said, well, what's the show going to be? And Rob Van Dam said to Vince, again, this was Rob Van Dam's idea. He says, hey, man, just so you know, if Paul's not writing it and producing it, it's not going to be authentic. You have to let this be his vision, his flow. He understands this product because it was his. Yeah, it's my baby. So Vince and I had I'm sure you've had these meetings, where you walk in the room and he goes, I don't know if this is going to be a hug or if we're going to be throwing around the furniture, And I always remember that was the thing with you and him, and when you guys saw each other in the hotel room in L.A. and my thing always was, well, at least it won't be a long fight, because he'd whip my ass really, really good. And the only hopes I had was, boy, I'm just wondering though if I just got in one lucky shot, what's he going to tell people? That Heyman got me, But I said, well, can we just do the hug? And instead of doing a hug, it was such a great Vince move. He gives me a handshake, and he says, let's see how the meeting goes before we do a huggy. And, here you have this big barrel-chested bodybuilder, and he's Vince McMahon, and he could whip my ass 15 times over. And when he just says something like that, like a huggy, I'll give him you know how he is. Yeah. It breaks the ice. Yeah. And we sat there, we had this wonderful conversation about what I envisioned the show to be. And he said, I'm at TV Monday and Tuesday. I'm back here Wednesday. And classic Vince, where they were in Phoenix or something that Tuesday, and he goes, I'll probably be back here around 4 o'clock in the morning. And you know me, I can't sleep. And that Monday night, I have to talk to somebody on Monday night after the show, so I won't have time to work out, so I'm going to miss a workout. When I come back, I'm going to work out till I puke. I'm going to work out till I puke. I said, oh, that's really nice. I usually, eat pizza till I puke. Yeah. And he says, what are you doing Wednesday morning around 7 a.m.? And I said, I don't know, probably going to bed. And he goes, let's meet then, because I'll just be done working out, and I'll sleep sometime on Wednesday. And we met the next Wednesday because I was in the office at Wednesday at 7 a.m. We actually wrote out the first version of the show, and from there they just kept me around enough to write ECW One Night Stand.